Mike, it'd be nice to have. Well, no, it's coming now. Is it coming? You have to. Yes, here we go. Now I get some feedback. Awesome. Thank you for everybody to be here. We're going to be very, very specific today, being hands-on and practical, understanding how to get access to these sandboxes. Because all of you are interested in drones, either making them yourself or evaluating if they're any good, need access to these things. So I want to welcome you all to this panel. First we have James Acuna. Please give him a hand. Stage. Yep. Yes, James has a long experience from CIA and all kinds of business, and now he is steadily here in Estonia building a sandbox environment, I say. Thank you, welcome to the stage. We also have Katarina from Brave One. Yeah, give her a hand. So she is representing Brave One, which is a kind of fast track for, I think it's mostly drones that you guys are working with?
Not only drones.
Yeah, but there's a lot of drones. A lot of drone-related stuff, other things too, but it's a fast track from innovation into the Ukraine military. And then last, we have Aymar, please, on stage, give him a hand. So he's working on drones. You have this awesome black box where you can use to detect opponents and with vertical takeoff, and you had the launch thing as well, right? And lastly, we have Thomas, you can give him a hand as well, who is also working on drones and have done his own, he built his own sandbox. So we'll hear about that. Please, guys, take a seat. All right, so let's get to it. The question we all have here is, how do we get access to this testing? Because people, like from a check from audience, how many here have a drone or want to fly a drone or like needs this testing? Like, okay, 1 or 2 hands. All right, that's good. For the rest, we have a little bit of an audience here. Anyway, so that's been a problem, right? So maybe I want to start with Thomas, because you ran into this problem and you wanted to test something. Can you give us some insight into that?
Yeah, exactly. In my previous company I was working for, it was Flying Basket, building heavy cargo drones. So for heavy cargo drones, obviously you need a proper test facility and you need to test them thoroughly. And we didn't have a sandbox or anything available at hand. So what we had to do was basically find ourselves a test area. And we were lucky, we found something pretty nearby. It was an old ex-military facility, still fenced, so really nice for the purpose of testing drones. But of course, then once you have this test facility and you got a local community or authority signing up to it, you still have then to go through all the process of with the US regulation, which many of you perhaps here in the audience also know. It's not easy. You still have to go through the well-known SORA process. You have to apply for operational authorization with the authority, and that will cost you quite some effort. It will take you some time to get there, but it's a possibility. And you will learn a lot by that because the regulation will also tell you, okay, you have to focus on reliability, and so this is a good thing. But of course, it takes you a lot of time, and it's, let's say, for an innovative startup, not necessarily the best environment, let's say, being forced to apply the drone regulation from day one.
Yeah, but it seems like, how long did it take? Can you be specific?
Yeah, I mean, it can easily take a year. So going through...
Okay, that's kind of slow. I was hoping it was faster.
No, unfortunately not. No.
Yeah.
No. First of all, you have hundreds of pages of a document that you have to go through. You have to understand it. You have then, of course, also discuss it with the authority. What are their expectations? Because it's also pretty new, also for the authorities. Not only you, also for the authorities. The regulation is
Sorry, were you able to reuse it? Like when you've gone through the process, are you now able to do it way faster?
Yes, of course. But then, for example, you have a drone developed, but then you want to improve it. You constantly want to improve it, you know. And then for every step of improvement, you again have to perhaps apply for a new authorization. At some stage, we got to the point that we could authorize these, let's say, small steps ourselves. But that took us many years to convince the authorities that we are able to do that. But it takes you a while.
Yeah. Well, let's use you as the baseline that if you can test, at least if basically anywhere in Europe with the right with the time and effort into it, but there are some faster ways. James, we talked before, he has some tricks up his sleeve. He's also trying to build something. What's your perspective on this? How is one, if I was doing a UAV now, it's a flying one, because the land ones are much easier to get rights to, but I want to fly it, so what would you suggest I should do?
Well, thank you for the question. I suggest you take the wings off and make it an unmanned ground vehicle. And so then you have a lot less regulations about it. And so, there's a saying in the United States that air regulations are written in blood because of all the mistakes that happen to be able to create that regulation. The European Union has taken the United States version of it and added about 17 layers of additional bureaucracy. And so to comment on Thomas's point, and I've heard this about these old German airfields in Germany using that stuff, really what you want to be able to do is create a 3D sandbox, right? And say, just like a kindergarten or something, this is your sandbox, go play in this sandbox. We're not going to mess with you in the sandbox. So that when you do upgrade the small bits and pieces to the drone, you're not constantly going back. And as far as like a segue, I know a place in the world that does this, and they're sitting next to me, which is Ukraine, right? So even Ukraine has some regulations now, but if you really want to go and play in that sandbox, go to the Ukrainian sandbox.
Yeah. Well, let's go to Ukraine for a bit. We'll come back to you, because I know you have some tips and tricks. We're hooking you for that. This
I'll give you that later.
Yeah, we'll give you that. Also, Katarina, you want to show what are the opportunities? I don't know if everybody knows how Brave One works, but when it comes to drones, that's a specific area of this, and using it as a sandbox opportunity, how can I access it, and what are the benefits I can get? How does it work?
Well, first of all, Brave One is a government initiative, so we are under the umbrella of 6 ministries, and we absolutely welcome all international companies who are working in defense to apply through our website to be tested in Ukraine. And we have priorities, so as you said, UAVs are the most popular, of course. However, you must understand that in Ukraine there are about 800 companies or more who are doing just that. So we have priorities, which we would absolutely welcome straight away to be tested in Ukraine. So you go to the website, you apply, and then our team, which is designated to do just that, will contact you, and we will design the simulation polygon or training ground to meet all your requirements. So, for example, if you are a UAV, and as electronic warfare has become a staple at the war, we will provide the exact simulation. So we will provide the electronic warfare systems. We will choose the landscape, which is the best for your technology. And also, if you want it to be tested at front lines, not just a simulation, we also will provide that.
All right. Well, I want to get into what you're looking for in a bit, but I want to get IMR in as well. So we spoke before we're talking about all this drone testing as if it's easy. You mentioned that there's many ways to screw up the test itself and how to kind of think around that. Would you like to share some thoughts on that?
Yes. First of all, welcome to everybody, and thank you for being here. The thing that you do in Ukraine and James is doing, this is a great thing, but everybody who's building something needs to make sure that they are not wasting your time. So that's quite important, because in a lot of tests that I have seen, they fail because poor preparation. Something simple fails. So everybody tries to build a quadcopter, but they are not very good at it. So we have a lot of experience by ourselves as well that we think it's jamming or spoofing, but actually there is a piece of carbon in front of the GPS module. So let's try to avoid this kind of mistakes mainly. And it's actually quite simple. You don't need to have expensive facilities for that. Just buy a fridge, buy an oven, throw your drone into the fridge, and make sure that it's flying during the winter as well. So in Estonia, it's quite evident that you have summer problems and you have winter problems. So that's quite clear. So if anybody here has a company or works in a company that maybe has like climate testing available, maybe vibration testing available, then maybe I can raise your hand and help out the companies that...
we're a technical research center, so we have a blizzard machine and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I encourage all the companies that have this kind of capabilities to help out startups mainly. Just to make sure that it works, because this resource that you have, this is very scarce and there is a lot of competition to it. So let's make sure that we are using it properly.
All right, thank you. I want to go back to James. So we spoke before. You said, let's say it can't be a ground vehicle; it needs to fly.
Yeah.
And we talked about like the civilian. Thomas mentioned the civilian difficulties, and of course every country has some adjustment, but it's like a European problem. You actually mentioned that you had, I think it was 3 shortcuts that you actually recommended.
I mean,
I could refresh you if you want.
Yeah, no, I know what they are. Yeah. To sort of go back to the point, and so regulations for unmanned aerial systems is a super boring subject matter, right? Like people hear latitude, kind of cool lights and all this stuff. And so I will tell you about the shortcut, but what I'll say is why does it matter to whoever, right? Why does it matter that you have this sandbox that you can go and test in? It's because how do you get into this field? Right? If you're a startup and you have 15,000 euros and you just don't know what to do, how do you get into this? And so the governments, most governments in the EU are delinquent when it comes to this. Delinquent. Finland would be an exception there, right?
I'm sucking on that.
Finland and VTT
caramel.
and what you guys are doing is, but there's a lot of talk, but there's a little bit of action. And so nobody is willing to sort of deviate off this civil aviation is what Thomas is talking about here. But when you test under EW, what you guys are talking about in Ukraine is dropping bombs off a Baba Yaga quadcopter. There is no civil aviation regulation written that's going to allow you to do that, right? And so what do you got to do? What you're looking for is you got to get the military involved. You got to get the border guards involved. You got to get the police involved. Once you have one of those guys at your facility, it is no longer civil aviation. It is a military, MAA here in Estonia, Military Aviation Authority, which also has its own process, and it's not devoid of some of the SORA stuff that Thomas is talking about. SORA is operational risk allowances defined by the European Union, ground and air, right? And so, but once you get these guys involved, you become more of the sandbox that Ukraine has. You know, what's the best polygon in Ukraine? It's some farmer's field, right? I've been to so many farmers' field in Zhytomyr Oblast in Ukraine, and it's the farmer allowing the teams to participate and test this stuff. So take Ukraine as the model. That's all I did here.
Yeah, you want to tell what you're working on.
Take Ukraine as the model. Not everybody can go to Ukraine. I spent 3 hours yesterday convincing an American how he had to buy train tickets because the airport in Kiev has not been open for 3 years, right? And so they talk about health insurance, they talk about war insurance, all these different things. And so not everybody can get on a train and go to Ukraine. Not everybody speaks Ukrainian language, though Brave One will help you with that. And so give these people an opportunity to test somewhere else. And like you were saying as well, get it rectified, get it fixed before you start wasting soldiers' times at the zero line in Ukraine.
Yeah, but
right? And there's a lot of ways.
Yeah,
so.
But can you tell me, what is the thing that you're working on? Because you have a specific solution you could share. I mean, I know how far you are with that. You could just share that with us.
So we've decided to create a sandbox here in Estonia called Baltic Ghost Wing, which is 50 square kilometers of an area near the Russian border, not too close to it, where you can do these tests. You can do this type of stuff. And so I don't want to steal this panel, but like there's 2 aspects to that is the ability for anyone to test anything, right? That's one of the mantras. But the other one is drone pilots have some training, but it's not the end-all, be-all training that everybody needs. Everybody sees these videos on like Telegram and Reddit about these FPVs crashing into things on both sides, right? But you never see the ones that miss, right? They don't ever show you the one that's missed. 60% of them miss. 60. right? Can you imagine if that was 30%, what the effectiveness of this would be? And so we've identified the way to get them better trained, all weather, more reliable, more survivable. And so call it the Top Gun of drone training, right? That's what we've done here.
This is working, right? I'm like, I want to be a drone pilot now.
13-week course, you can sign up for it. Anyways, so I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
And to make Estonia sort of this center of drone excellence here in the Baltic states, right?
Thank you for
And in Eastern Europe and Northern Europe as well.
And Europe
Yeah.
and NATO and
Sorry,
so on.
not
Yeah.
Eastern.
Awesome. Well, I can mention also here for all of you who want to do some testing, we do have in VTT, where I represent, we also have this place called Olofsson, which is a area, I remember it's like 1,000 feet up plus so-and-so, like wide. It's a really big area, and you can do autonomous driving there too. Like you can just use it. So there, and also there's one in Sweden called Västervik Drone Park, where they also have an airport that you can use. Because like it depends on where the planes fly, so they've been able to get to the rights to this area, because there's like this is a black area, nobody just flies there. If you get far north, nobody flies there. We usually have flights to Russia, but they're not as common.
But then you're cold, right?
Yeah.
You guys do Arctic testing, right? Like so.
Yeah, that's part of it, yes. All right, well, let's get to, I want to get to Brave One a bit. So can you tell me, what are the stuff that you guys are looking for right now? What if maybe we can talk about drones mostly, what type of stuff, because you had 800 drone companies already, so you like kind of don't need so many more. What are the capabilities that you guys still are feeling you're lacking when it comes to these things?
So first of all, I would like to make clear, even if it's a drone company, you can still apply absolutely to through Brave One, and we will get to you. But it's just that the priorities are anti-Shaheds, guided munition,
Counter-UAS.
autonomous and swarming technologies. So everything, something like that, would get a priority for being tested if you apply through Brave One. And as I said, not all of those technologies maybe can be used and on a simulation training ground. So as I said, it's very important thing if you work in defense or dual use, like call it whatever you want. And I understand there is a lot of danger that goes on with coming to Ukraine. But if you're working in this field, you have to get your product ultimately to do what it's designed to do. For that, you absolutely need to come to Ukraine. And I just want to come back what Thomas said at the start. It's not you get tested and then that's it, that's all good. Unfortunately, now a lot of companies use like tested in Ukraine or like used in battlefield as like a quality mark. It is a quality mark because not all meet their characteristics on the training ground, not all do well, and it is that. But as Thomas said, you come back, you do work on your product, and you need to get it tested again. So the regulations, and like there might be so many alternatives. And they should be, but the regulations unfortunately will hold you back a bit just because of the time. And if you come so what we usually not ask, but like advised to do is to open a joint R&D center or R&D center in Ukraine, because the innovation cycle is 3 to 6 months. Our products, we help them to get codified, NATO codified, 10 to 12 weeks. It's incredibly fast. If we can't do it because of legislation, we change the legislation. So. There's absolutely great stuff that you do, but as Thomas said, unfortunately, is the speed of innovation that has to come with the product as well.
Yeah, thank you. I want to get to Thomas in a bit. I just want to mention that there's an example of how they did testing in Ukraine. They said they had 3 rounds of software updates per day Yeah, the morning work, the middle day shift, and they had the evening shift, and they were and every time the soldiers came back, they did an adjustment on the drone, some software, and then in the second, like they went out and then come back, and they did that. I think it was 20 kilometers, at the time it was 20 kilometers from the front line where they did these changes. And then they had weekly hardware updates. When they got feedback back, they worked on it in a factory, say in Kiev or something, and then they get back to the front. So that they've been saying that the speed of software has gotten basically to hardware, that we can adjust hardware in the same speed that we usually do with software. So I think that's really cool that you guys are doing that. So Thomas, if I ask you now you have to make a new UAV company and you need to do some testing, how would you do it this time? With everything you know?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think in the end, I would probably follow a similar path. I mean, it's proven successful so far. It's been, let's say, a bit a hard start, a difficult start, but in the end, it worked out pretty well. So, of course, it's one advice, for example, I can give you is try to build up a very good relationship with the authorities from the beginning. That's really important, that you have also a good personal relationship, because there will be times when you have very, very short deadlines that might be out of the usual scope of an authority, but if you know them very well, you might get an extra treatment. So this is one advice I can give you. But yeah, otherwise it's, I think it's still the best way forward to find your own. I mean, either you find a place like James is developing, that you can go, if it's in the vicinity, find another company that has perhaps already a test facility, so that you can test there, that you have less burden of complying with the regulation. But in the end, sooner or later, you will face it, I'm afraid.
But it sounds almost like if you figure out how to do this, you get a competitive advantage that you are actually able to do your own aviation testing eventually.
Exactly. That's in the long run, it will play out. Because knowing the regulation, I mean, it's based on a lot of experience that has been gathered in the development of in aviation, basically. So it's not wrong, the regulation. It's just very extensive, and it's at the beginning it's just difficult. But if you've gone through it, you will benefit in the long run for sure.
Yeah. So we complain that our regulation is like, yeah, no, this because of this people we survive. Like, it's paid by blood, as James said. Okay, Aymar, what would your idea be? Let's say you have to start your drone company again, and you would go through this whole experience of having to test the things. What would be your advice?
Yeah, you still start from flying without proper authorization. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Good point.
But the thing is that you still need to do it the first time, exactly as Thomas mentioned. You have to go through it. And it still is important. We cannot like throw everything away and say that everybody can fly everything and no problems, nobody asks anything. It's still, we need to keep it safe. But one thing is that I would like to have something closer to Tallinn to fly.
What are you doing, James? Gonna be.
Yeah. We need land.
But capabilities and stuff available has changed a lot in the last few years. You mentioned that you have in the VTT, you have also capabilities to test drones. By the end of the year, the Estonia also has the similar center available, maybe even better. So we will see. But there is now a lot more places that you can turn to ask for advice. Before that, we had at one company party, people asked me that, what is the average age of the test department? And we couldn't calculate it, but it's actually quite low. And the reason is that these were kids' toys that we were playing with. And now those kids have been growing up a little bit, and now they are becoming all drone experts. So,
if I could add something.
Hire young people and follow the regulations when it comes absolutely necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, go for it.
Just to add something to what Aymar was saying, let other people handle it. Let VTT handle it, right, with your Arctic range and stuff to the north. Let Brave One handle it, right? Let AirHub handle it. Let Baltic Coast Wing handle it. What I want to do, I used to work with DARPA for 10 years, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. And like my responsibility was to like look at all the proposals that were submitted online to this office called TTO, Tactical Technology Office. And I was looking at this stuff. And these people have this crazy idea, but my job was to take that crazy idea and handle it. Right? So the first part is you had to find a customer, you had to find an end user, right? Is it feasible? Can you do this? And so if you look at the innovation coming out of Ukraine, and the reason I started any of this stuff is like in 22, I went to a garage, an old hospital in Kiev, and they were building drones out of this old hospital. And it was like a movie. I was like, this is, you put this on for me, right? And the innovation coming out of there, I was like, let these people handle this. Let the postdoc student studying physics at Kiev Polytechnical Institute, let him handle it. I'll deal with the rest. I'll deal with the government. I'll deal with the regulations. I'll deal with trying to get them money and all this stuff. Let them do it. Let the other weenie guys talk about regulations, right? That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So it seems to make sense that pair up. I mean, I know you both said like, yes, do it yourself, but I'm leaning towards like whoever's doing it. I think Thomas, you basically said as well, but is somebody else doing it? Why not like try to jump on if you're not directly competing? I think that'd be great. So then they are handling that stuff, or get access to some we have and you're building. Then there are other ones, the one in Sweden as well, that you can access. So you get. But I mean, eventually you need to have something close. I think Thomas, you mentioned that as well. One of the issues was you said there are sandboxes, but they were like. Or they were so far away from where you were, it didn't become reasonable to do testing there. That was also a reason, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the whole environment, or not environment, the drone industry is growing in the past years a lot. So there are more and more of those test facilities popping up, but there were not many, for example, 5 years ago. There were, I don't know if there were any at all.
Yeah.
so now there's a growing number of test facilities so that you can use. And if you have one in your vicinity, I mean, I definitely recommend using it, because then you can have these fast and agile development cycles that you need to progress quickly with your development. And yeah, if you don't have it available, try it yourself. But of course, don't reinvent the wheel. It's not necessary if you have something nearby. I fully agree.
Yeah. Also, we haven't spoken too much about kinetic stuff. Are you guys? Is that something you're going to allow? Bombs, bullets.
So whenever you're looking for a military solution, or like counter UAS, or slamming one drone into another drone, what Thomas and what we're talking about, civil aviation, we talked about it before this panel, goes out the window, okay. Right? Like now you're talking about purely. The only people that take other drones out of skies are border guards, police, and military. And so if the aviation regime you should be in is border guards, police, or the military. Let's not waste the civil aviation time by saying how you want to do a loitering munition or something, right? Like this is never going to happen.
Yeah. Well, you make it sound like you just talk with them and they'll help you. Could you go into like, how would a new guy get access to the border guards?
They don't. They have to go through me, right? That's why we exist, right? We spend days. We spend the time. It's the same thing with Brave One, right? Brave One is actually the way that. Not to steal your thunder here, but like Brave One takes a bunch of ideas and they send it over to the general staff of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, right? And it's the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense that comes up with the projects that they need. It's not a bunch of kids sitting around on a table somewhere saying this is what the military needs. It's the actual military. And again, let the people that know what they're doing handle it while you guys are coming up with these fabulous ideas, right? And Ukrainians come up with some great ideas. Other countries that support Ukraine, Army of Drones, they come up with these wonderful ideas. And so we already have this existing relationship, right? Yeah. 30 years in the government, I've dealt with all these governments. And so let me deal with it. And you guys deal with the drones.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think that's good. And actually something I've seen in Finland, we handle like the southern regions, like Helsinki, capital region. But in the east and the north, they're starting to have their own kind of ecosystems going there. And from those, if you request from them, like we need contact with the border guards, they will, because that's their job, they will go out of their way to figure it out. And because they are a government entity or a city or something, they're not like hostile trying to sell. They're just, hey, can we collaborate? And actually, I don't know about wherever you guys are from, but in Finland, there's this, like there are patriots all over that they've been just waiting for somebody, for like a startup or a city to say, hey, we need your help. They're like, yes, thank you, let me. They've been thinking, how can I do something? And when you just ask them, they're happy to roll out the carpet for you.
Just be careful a little bit, right? Because if you can meet one border guard and he says, I want the drone and it's going to carry 50 kilograms, it's got to fly 1,000 kilometers, and you're going to go and take that. This happens in Ukraine as well.
Yeah.
And so you take all that stuff and say, well, the Ukrainian government said. No, it didn't. The 93rd said, or the 14th said, right? Because they have very specific mission needs for those particular brigades there. Same thing with the border guards. If you're on the Swedish border, your mission set looks a lot different than the Russian border.
Yeah.
So like just be careful with, are they speaking about amongst themselves, or are they speaking on behalf of the government?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
All right, Katarina, can I ask you, we talked about it before as well. I'm curious if you have any example of some successful case where they came through you, through Brave One, and then made it all the way to, to the front to be used.
So unfortunately, I cannot disclose the name of the company, but there was a case of a German company which has come to Ukraine, have been able to get their product tested, and now it's successfully integrated in what we do. Because like the most important thing not the most important thing, but one of the most important things about like either simulation training grounds or actual use cases is that we provide military staff who looks at your product in action, even if it's in a safer simulation training, and they tell you how like it will be how it will
perform.
Yeah, how's it
exactly,
going?
thank you. How it will perform during the military operations, and so you get like a full-on an expert conclusion about your product, and like if it's used constantly during a battle, like even statistically you get more like possibly things that could go wrong, or like it didn't show on the training ground, and you cannot foresee all of the things that need to be like present for the product to work just what it's designed to do. So ultimately, it is the end user. It is their conclusion, and also like hopefully after it's used on our actual battlefield. And this German company, they have used this opportunity, which is and they have absolutely mastered what they have tried to achieve with their product.
How long did it take for them to do it? Was it from the submission
I know this
to?
company, yeah. Took a long time. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, maybe their product wasn't maybe good enough to start.
But like the thing is, it's not a point in time, and you said, oh, hey, I've mastered the Ukrainian theater. Now let's pack up our bags, go back to Germany, and start building this stuff. Because if you come back to Ukraine a week later, the situation's changed. And so, like, how do you continuously upgrade your product for the new battlefield? Like, great example is fiber optic drones, right? Everybody says end all be all, don't worry about radio comms anymore, it's fiber. And so I know Brave One has programs for fiber optic as well. And so, like, you have to be there. Just don't come for 5 minutes, take your picture with your national flag, run back across the border of Poland and say, good, we're good. So.
And we talked about for all the investors as well, like how would you check that the drone, because they would have this stamp, like I was in Ukraine, like technically they were, maybe they even ran a test, maybe they even were in the battlefield once. How would you check that they're not?
I'll give you my unofficial test.
Yeah.
See if the Russians have posted about your drone on Telegram. See if they've shot your drone down. If they've shot your drone or they're fearful of your drone, you are doing something. If no one's ever seen your drone and they're just like quoting Wall Street Journal articles about your drone, then perhaps you're not as successful as you thought.
Yeah, right. That's a good one. Is there something where we haven't covered that you guys really want to cover on the panel from you guys? Please ask, can you even use this? I'm in the middle of the thing. But like there's, you can please like send questions. I'll check it in a minute. But before we get the audience in, anything you guys want to cover that we haven't talked about today that we should?
I have one more comment to emphasize the importance of those sandbox type environments is that even if you maybe have like some direct connection to Ukraine, to some units, whatever, you let them use your equipment, then usually the feedback that you get from there, it's not very reliable because you don't know the exact environment they're using your equipment in. So that's why the sandbox environment is important, that you can control the environment and you can actually do repeatable tests. So I have long background as a test guy, so I always want to have it repeatable because if you get like feedback, yesterday it was one frequency, tomorrow it's another frequency, one anti-jamming module works better, other works worse. This always changes. So that's why we need like controlled environments for this kind of testing.
I think the best case is that if you have Ukrainian information, we talk a lot about Ukraine because that's where they have active war right now, so we can use that to our advantage. But that even if you're not in Ukraine, the sandbox itself is designed to mimic the field conditions as well as possible. We talked about jamming. That's still an issue to get it easily up because that really bothers people when when the phones don't work and stuff. I think that would be the way to do it, that you can repeat it with a simulated environment that's very similar here in Europe, and then you could then also test it in Ukraine. Also, somebody said he got feedback from Ukrainian, that the thing tested, he got the feedback. They weren't happy, and they said, this is shit. It's like, what's wrong? It's shit. And it's like, okay, that's... it's not very helpful.
Probably an American drone.
Yeah, it could have been, but it wasn't that useful information. Right, anything else, guys, you want to add?
Oh, I would like to add. So if you do want to get tested in Ukraine, you have to cover your own travel costs, and you have to cover the cost of the product that you want to get tested. Other than that, we will organize everything.
Good deal.
Brave One is the shortcut, I think, to...
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely. Okay, now I'll be looking at my phone to get the access to all these questions. Okay, we got 3 questions. Thank you, guys. I'll start with... Oh, wow, this is like really long ago, 22 minutes ago. Sorry, Jay. Is it a legal barrier or lack of effort? Oh. Products used for military training during the peacetime still need to be safe and reliable. Wartime is an entirely different subject. So I think he's complaining about, like in wartime, Ukraine has, they can be more flexible. And is there any comment on that from the panel?
There's systems in place. The U.S. has a proving ground system, right? Aberdeen Proving Grounds, Utah, Dugway Proving Grounds, where you can go and you can submit products to be tested by the United States Army in peacetime. And so where there's a will, there's a way, right? Even EW.
Yeah, we were not complaining,
right.
I think.
There's EW in Latvia. You can go to Latvia tomorrow and test if you want. You just got to know the right people. Yeah. I know them, so you can.
This is an ad for James. Just go talk with him. He'll take care of you. Oh, that's good. It's good that you exist and Brave One exists. This is very needed. Okay, next question here from Ritesh. So Brave One is open for AI-driven robotics-based surgical device. Wait. Does Brave One open for AI-driven robotics-based surgical device for testing as well? Was this AI written? I'm not sure.
Short answer is yes. Everything, absolutely everything that you need to get tested, whatever it is, AI, UGV, surface vessel, underwater vessel, whatever you can imagine, we will provide the right testing ground for it. And
can I stop you on that? Because we talk about, it sounds like offensive or like we'll call kinetic activities. What about this is surgical equipment, for example? Is that as equal interesting to save lives as well?
Absolutely, yes. And we will provide
medical support.
It's easy also for me. I do this all the time, but I easily get stuck on the stuff that affects the battlefield itself. But I know 90% of all the equipment is used for not attacking. It's used for anything else. So I get stuck in those thoughts as well. And I think in the audience here, there's not only kinetic and violence. There's also things relating to logistics and medic care and so on. Okay, Leo asks, what are the main benefits and pitfalls of Estonian and EU legal regulations? Are there any pitfalls there that we should watch out for when it comes to regulation of the drones? Not necessarily, I don't know only about flying, but...
Estonian regulations are like the rest of the EU's regulations, right? They're all regulated by EASA, right? And so you can operate under that system, but you have to take into account that in Estonia, the border with Russia is closed to air traffic. Anything that's not flying at 13,000 meters going across. And so you don't really have the density of air traffic that you'd have in, say, Berlin or Paris or wherever. And then not that many people live in Estonia. And so your ground risk is significantly lower. And so you have to take a creative look if you're a regulator at what should we allow? What's good versus safety, right? And if you just stick to the letter of the law, I think it's an overreaction to the regulation.
Anybody, you have any pitfalls you want to mention?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's on the one hand, we have a European regulation, but then on the other hand, we have always an implementation in each EU country that is slightly different. And that, of course, depends also on, let's say, the environment in this country. So if you have a densely populated country, of course, your authority will have a bit different point of view than, for example, in Estonia, where you have much less population or densely populated areas. So it's implemented differently. And on the other hand, it's also that the authorities, as I mentioned before, have also currently a learning curve. So they get also more confidence in drone operations because there was little experience in the past with drone operations in the civil sector. So there was a bit of, okay, there's this new technology, let's be careful with the implementation of it. So they were very careful also with implementing the regulation. And now they see, okay, there's not that many incidents, so becoming more and more less restrictive, and it's getting easier. I have the feeling that in the past year, so becoming more pragmatic, the approach of many authorities. Yeah. So can be also a case. It depends on where you actually want to fly. So there are authorities in some countries that are more pragmatic than others these days.
Yeah, I think it's clever to go where the flow is easiest. Like, I mean, it's really cool that you guys, I don't know if it's Germany or Italy or where you did it there, but just if it's easier in Estonia or easier in Finland, I know we were kind of far away maybe from these countries, but you save a lot of hassle if you can do it where the regulators are more happy to work with you. I think that's something you can use. And I can use a plug here as well. So as I mentioned, VTT, we do have testing areas for drones actively running right now. In Oulu is far north, so that's like, it's not, well, you could go more north, but it's quite north, let's say. And that's available to you, so you can even do unmanned systems there, both ground and air. And then tomorrow we have the EU Spam. It's a matchmaking event for the EU innovations, defense innovation scheme. So they have a matchmaking thing that you can go to, talk about drones or wherever you want. I want to mention that there. It's a side event tomorrow at 11. Okay, I'll check one last time on the phone, see if anybody has something interesting to ask. I can. Is this error? Okay, try again. And now it's fine. Okay, yes, we don't have a new question here. Any questions from the audience you want to scream out? We have a minute. And I realize I can't see you very well because I have light in my eyes.
I have a quick comment about the previous question as well, is that before you start designing UAV, take a quick look at the regulations, because there are some specific weights and dimensions that you need to comply with, and you might fall into the harder category just because of like 500 grams or 1 centimeter. So this is the major thing to look at actually in the beginning.
That's a good one. All right. Well, then I think this is it. Thank you very much for the panel. Thank you all for being here. Give them a hand. Thank you very much for this. Arias, I don't know if you have any closing words you wanted to say, but if it...
All good.
Okay. I think that's it. Then thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.